Welcome, brave souls, to a realm where shadows whisper secrets too vile for the light. I'm here to unravel tales so chilling that your skin will crawl long after the silence falls. Help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers, hit that button now, and together, let's unearth the horrors awaiting us tonight. It's a rainy evening in Crescent Pines, and I, Jonah Wells, am just finishing up my shift at the bookstore. I'm exhausted, my mind wandering as I board the 10:17 p.m. train heading north. The train is crowded, but there's an odd tension in the air, a quietness broken only by the rhythmic rattle of the tracks and the flickering of the fluorescent lights overhead. I settle into my seat, pulling out my headphones to listen to a podcast about urban legends, something to keep my mind off the fatigue. But as I look around, I can't help but notice a disheveled man standing near the middle of the car. He's clutching a duffel bag and muttering to himself, his eyes fixed on two teenage girls in school uniforms seated nearby. A shiver runs down my spine. Something feels off. The man's intense stare, and the way he's clutching that bag, it's unsettling. I try to focus on my podcast, but the man's presence is like a dark cloud hanging over the train, making it hard to ignore the growing sense of unease. As the train continues its journey, the atmosphere inside becomes even more charged. I can't shake the feeling that tonight, on this last train home, something is about to go terribly wrong. As the train enters the Old Gate Tunnel, everything goes dark. The power cuts out and the train grinds to a sudden halt. My heart races. This tunnel has always been the stuff of urban legends, stories of ghosts and vanishings whispered among the locals. In the pitch blackness, three of us step forward. Mason, an off-duty security guard with a steady presence. Theo, a software engineer who's always cool under pressure. And me, Jonah, the bookseller who's now regretting tuning into that podcast. We move toward Reed Carrick, the man who's been unsettling everyone since we boarded. "Back off, man," Mason commands, his voice firm. But Carrick just smiles. A cold smile that scared me. He reaches into his duffel bag and pulls out an ancient-looking blade, the metal glinting ominously in the dim light filtering through the tunnel. "You're all marked," Carrick declares, his voice dripping with menace. "The ritual has begun." Before any of us can react, a strange thing happens. Everyone's phones start buzzing and chiming all at once, filling the air with an eerie cacophony. It's as if the very atmosphere is charged with an unseen force, and I can't shake the feeling that we're all part of something much bigger and darker than a simple subway ride home. The train car is bathed in the eerie glow of red emergency lights, casting long shadows across the floor. Carrick's eyes gleam with a wild fury as he lunges at us. It all happens so fast. Mason tries to shield us, but Carrick's blade finds its mark, stabbing him in the stomach. Mason grunts in pain, clutching his side as he staggers back. I can see the blood seeping through his fingers. Theo, always quick on his feet, jumps in to wrestle Carrick to the ground. But Carrick is stronger than he looks, and in a swift motion, he slashes Theo's throat. I watch in horror as Theo falls back, his hands pressed to his neck, blood pouring out. I'm next. Carrick swings at me, and I feel the blade graze my arm, a sharp sting that sends adrenaline coursing through me. Panic rises, but I spot a broken bottle on the floor. Without thinking, I grab it and swing at Carrick, catching him on the shoulder. He howls in pain, and I see his blood start to flow. Chaos erupts around us. The two girls scream, their voices piercing through the din. The other passengers panic, some trying to help, others just trying to get away. It's a scene straight out of a nightmare, and I'm right in the middle of it, fighting for my life and the lives of those around me. The train finally grinds to a stop at the next station, and the emergency team rushes in. Carrick, seeing his chance, tries to make a break for it, but he doesn't get far. The emergency team quickly apprehends him, and as they drag him away, he's chuckling and speaking in an unfamiliar tongue that gives me goosebumps. Mason is whisked away to the hospital, his face pale and his shirt soaked with blood from the stab wounds in his stomach. I hope he'll be okay. He was so brave, stepping up to protect us all. I'm still in a daze, my mind reeling from the chaos, but something catches my eye. The broken amulet that Carrick threw at the girl's feet, it's dissolving in his blood, right there on the train floor. And the air around us is filled with a strange static, like the world itself is buzzing with unseen energy. In a whisper, almost to myself, I mutter, "This fits the pattern from the 83 disappearance. It's a connection I can't ignore. A piece of the puzzle that's been nagging at me since I started listening to those urban legend podcasts." As the emergency team secures the scene and tends to the injured, I can't shake the feeling that we've just disrupted something much larger and darker than any of us could have imagined. The ritual, whatever it was, has been broken for now. A few weeks have passed since that night on the train, and my health has finally stabilized. I'm still haunted by what happened, but I need to talk it out, so I head over to Theo's house. We sit down to share our experiences, trying to piece together the madness we went through. As we're talking, Theo's mom, Mrs. Luke, joins us. She's a retired lawyer, and she's got this look in her eye like she knows something big. She tells us about her old research into unexplained disappearances linked to the subway tunnels, especially the Old Gate model. My ears perk up. This is exactly the kind of stuff I've been diving into with those urban legend podcasts. Theo and I start digging through old files she kept from her days as a lawyer. We find profiles of similar attackers over the decades, all connected to subway blackouts. It's like a pattern, a dark thread running through time. The more we read, the clearer it becomes that Carrick isn't just some random lunatic. He's part of something much bigger. After a while of sifting through the documents, we uncover stories directly related to Carrick. We gather all the evidence and send it over to the police. It's overwhelming, but it feels right. Together, with Mrs. Luke's help, we make sure the police have everything they need. In the end, it pays off. Carrick is convicted, thanks to the solid case we built. It's a relief, knowing he's behind bars, but I can't shake the feeling that we've only scratched the surface of this mystery. There's more out there, waiting to be uncovered. It's late at night, and I'm standing at Crescent Pine Central Station, watching the world go by. The hustle and bustle of the day has faded, and the station feels almost peaceful. Life has moved on since that terrifying night on the train, but for me, it's hard to forget. The passengers around me are oblivious to what happened, going about their routines as if nothing ever occurred. But for Theo and me, everything has changed. We've been hailed as heroes in the case against Carrick, and it's a strange feeling, knowing we played a part in stopping him. As I wait for my train, a familiar voice crackles over the subway's radio system. It's a broadcast, thanking Theo and me for our bravery and quick thinking. The announcer praises us for helping to bring Carrick to justice and ensuring the safety of our fellow passengers. I can't help but feel a swell of pride mixed with a lingering unease. The train pulls into the station, and I board, finding a seat near the window. As the train starts to move, I look out at the city, wondering if there are more mysteries out there, waiting to be uncovered. For now, though, I'm just grateful that life has returned to normal, or as normal as it can be after everything we've been through. It's a chilly December evening, and I'm just chilling in my college dorm, wrapping up some assignments. My phone buzzes. It's a message from Julian, my classmate. His folks are out of town on some business trip, so he's stuck at his uncle's remote country house. Now he's begging me to come pick him up for a secret party. I mean, who can say no to that, right? So I hop on my bike, the cold air biting at my cheeks as I leave the comfort of the city lights behind. The streets get quieter, the darkness heavier, but I'm all in for this little adventure. Julian's counting on me, and honestly, it's a break from the usual grind. As I pedal further into the night, the anticipation of what lies ahead mixes with the thrill of the cold ride. Let's see where this night takes us. So, I'm following these sketchy directions from Julian, hoping this shortcut will get me to his uncle's place faster. But as I turn onto this dark forest road, things start to feel off. The road's twisty and narrow, and without any streetlights, it's like I'm pedaling through a black void. The cold is biting harder now, and I start to wonder if I'm just going in circles. Finally, I reach a fork in the road and decide to stop. There, standing out in the dim moonlight, is this old house with a red door that looks like it's seen better days. It's the kind of place you'd see in a spooky movie, all abandoned and eerie. I pull out my phone to call Julian, but before I can hit dial, something catches my eye. Behind the curtains of what should be an empty house, I see a shadow move. It's quick, just a flicker, but it's enough to send a chill down my spine. What's going on in there? I'm not sure I want to find out, but curiosity's got the better of me. I keep staring, half expecting to see more, but the night stays quiet, the mystery of the shadow lingering in my mind. As I'm standing there, staring at the shadow behind the curtains, something even weirder happens. Out of nowhere, this gaunt old woman in a white shawl steps onto the porch. She's just standing there, her eyes closed and hands clasped like she's deep in prayer. Her lips are moving so fast, they're almost a blur, and she's whispering at this frantic pace. It's like she's in her own world, totally oblivious to my bike's headlights or my presence. I'm still on the phone with Julian, and he asks if the house I'm at has a red door. When I tell him it does, he goes quiet for a second. Then, in a hushed tone, he tells me that the woman who died there just a few weeks ago was still hanging around. My heart skips a beat. Is this woman in the white shawl the same one who passed away? The thought sends shivers down my spine, and I can't help but feel like I've stumbled into something way over my head. After seeing that eerie woman, I didn't waste a second. I picked up Julian in a total state of panic, and we just bolted from that creepy house. We were riding away like the wind, the cold air whipping past us, as we tried to put as much distance between us and that place as possible. Just when I thought the fear was starting to fade, something bizarre happened. I felt this weight settle on the back seat of my bike. Then, a cold hand wrapped around my waist. My heart nearly stopped. I quickly glanced in the rearview mirror, and there she was, the woman in the white shawl. Her neck was twisted at this impossible angle, and she was smiling at me, her eyes unblinking. It was like something out of a nightmare. Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, she vanished. But the weirdness didn't stop there. My bike started to slow down, as if someone had lightly applied the brakes. The thing is, my hands were nowhere near them. It was like she was still there, messing with my ride even after she disappeared. That chill I felt, it wasn't just from the cold night air anymore. We finally made it to Julian's uncle's house, and I could see the horror written all over his face. He was pale, like he'd seen a ghost, which, I guess, he kind of had. He started spilling everything, saying his uncle had been talking to someone he called Lena, his late wife, long before she even passed away. It was like his uncle was living in his own world, chatting with a ghost. Then, Julian led me to this old photo album, and there she was, Lena, the woman I saw back at that creepy house. It was her, no doubt about it. The same gaunt face, the same intense look in her eyes. Julian told me she had amnesia and was obsessed with praying to return to her body. It all clicked into place. The woman in the white shawl, the prayers, the way she looked at me. It was all because she was trying to come back. Back in my room, I finally had a moment to sit and process everything that happened. My mind was racing, so I decided to check the ride-hailing app's route log from that night. As I scrolled through, I noticed an audio glitch during the ride. Curious, I played it back, and there it was, faint whispers that matched the prayer Julian had mentioned his uncle hearing. It was Lena's voice, no doubt about it. The chills returned as I listened to her desperate pleas echoing through my phone. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was bigger than just a personal encounter, so I hopped online and started digging. Before long, I stumbled upon forums buzzing with similar stories. People were talking about the same road, the same house with the red door. Then, someone posted an old dashcam video from years ago. There she was, the same woman in the white shawl, standing by the road, her hands clasped in prayer. It was eerie, how everything lined up. The rain started to come down hard as we drove along the lonely country road. My dad, Martin, had his eyes fixed ahead, gripping the steering wheel tight. We were escaping, not just the storm, but the chaos back home after a heated argument with Mom. She was grieving, and I, Chloe, felt like I was walking on eggshells around her. Dad thought a getaway would help us both breathe. As lightning split the sky, Dad spotted a flickering neon sign, "The Pine Rest Inn." It looked old and nearly empty, but it was shelter. We dashed inside, soaked to the bone. The lobby was dimly lit, with a musty smell that clung to the air. An elderly woman sat behind the front desk, her eyes sharp and unwelcoming. "Room 9, she said, handing us the key. Her voice was raspy, like she hadn't spoken in a while. She then looked straight at me and added sternly, "Don't wander around." It felt odd, almost like a warning. We hurried to our room, the sound of thunder chasing us. Room 9 was simple 2 beds, a small television, and a window that rattled with each gust of wind. I dropped my bag and looked out at the storm, feeling a mix of relief and unease. We were away from home, but something about this place made my skin crawl. As Dad went to take a shower, I couldn't shake the receptionist's words. "Don't wander around." Why would she say that? The rain continued to beat against the window, and I couldn't help but feel like we'd stepped into something much bigger than just a storm. The sound of the shower running was the only thing breaking the silence in room 9. I sat on the bed, trying to distract myself with a book, but the rain drumming against the window kept pulling my attention away. That's when I saw her. A pale woman stood near the window, her face hidden in shadow. Her long braid hung down to her chest, swaying slightly as if caught in a breeze that wasn't there. I froze, staring at her, my heart pounding in my chest. Then, slowly, she lifted her braid and wrapped it around her neck like a noose. My breath caught as she began to tighten it, her movements eerily deliberate. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was glued to the spot. Just as the braid seemed to cut into her skin, she vanished. The room was empty again, save for the relentless rain. I blinked, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. When Dad came out of the bathroom, towel drying his hair, I blurted out what I'd seen. He paused, looking at me with concern. "Chloe, you must have fallen asleep and had a bad dream," he said gently, but I knew it was real. I could still feel the chill that had settled over me when I saw her. It was well past midnight, and the storm outside had settled into a steady, relentless rain. Dad and I were trying to get some sleep, but the tension in room 9 was palpable. Suddenly, the television flickered to life on its own, casting eerie shadows across the room. I sat up, heart racing, as the static-filled screen filled the room with a ghostly glow. Then, I heard a soft sobbing coming from the bathroom. I nudged Dad awake, and he listened, his brow furrowed. We crept to the bathroom, but when he swung the door open, it was empty. The sobbing stopped as abruptly as it had started. Just as we were about to settle back into bed, a knock echoed from inside the closet. Dad hurried over, pulling the door open, but there was nothing there. No one. Just our clothes hang silently. He looked at me, confusion and fear mixing in his eyes. We decided to leave, to get out of this creepy place. But when Dad tried the door, it wouldn't budge. It was stuck, as if someone or something was holding it shut from the other side. Panic started to rise in my chest. Then, the lights began to flicker, faster and faster, until they were almost strobing. In the rapid flashes, I saw her, the woman from the window. She was crawling across the ceiling, her braid hanging down, her face still obscured. Her movements were slow and deliberate, like a spider stalking its prey. Dad grabbed my hand, pulling me away from the sight. We huddled together, waiting for the lights to stop flickering, praying for morning to come. But in that moment, I knew we were trapped with something that wasn't ready to let us go. Desperate to escape, Dad and I tried everything to get out of room 9. When the door wouldn't budge, we turned our attention to the window. I grabbed a chair, ready to smash it, but as I swung, I stumbled and knocked over a loose board behind the closet. To our shock, it revealed a narrow space. Inside, we found a hidden camera and a speaker. My heart sank as I realized what this meant. Dad's face hardened with determination as he squeezed into the space, urging me to stay put. He disappeared into the darkness, and I waited, my nerves on edge. Minutes felt like hours until he returned, his expression a mix of anger and disbelief. "There's a network of tunnels behind the rooms," he said, his voice low, "and there's a continuous recording playing the woman's cries." It all clicked into place. The television flickering on, the sobbing from the bathroom, the knock from the closet. It was all part of a sick game. Someone was using these hidden passages and effects to scare us. But why? As we stood there, the reality of our situation sinking in, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and anger. Relief that there was a logical explanation, but anger that we'd been manipulated like this. We needed to get out and confront whoever was behind this twisted scheme. We stormed into the motel lobby, Dad's face set in a hard line. The receptionist looked up, her expression shifting from surprise to a forced smile. She tried to brush off our accusations, saying it was just a haunted motel experience, a harmless joke meant to entertain guests. But I couldn't let it go. I felt something real in that room, something beyond the tricks and recordings. As I looked around, my eyes landed on an old photo hanging on the wall. It was her, the woman from room 9, the receptionist's daughter, who had committed suicide in that very room years before. The braid, the window, they matched perfectly with what I'd seen. It wasn't just a recording or a trick. There was a connection, a haunting that went beyond the motel's twisted game. I turned to the receptionist, my voice steady despite the fear churning inside me. "It's not all fake," I said. "Your daughter, she's still here, isn't she?" She's not just a part of your scam." The receptionist's face crumbled, her eyes filling with tears. She couldn't deny it. The haunted motel experience was real, but it was built on the pain of her own loss. We had stumbled into something much deeper than we'd ever imagined. The early morning fog wrapped around us as we sped away from the Pine Rest Inn. The sun was just starting to rise, casting a soft glow through the mist. Dad and I were both shaken, the receptionist's ridiculous explanations still ringing in our ears. We drove in silence for miles, the weight of what we'd experienced hanging heavy between us. Finally, I broke the quiet. "She didn't want to scare us," I whispered. "She wanted someone to see." I couldn't shake the feeling that the ghostly woman was trying to reach out, to tell her story. Dad glanced at me, his expression a mix of concern and confusion. We didn't know what was true anymore. The receptionist's words felt hollow, and we both sensed that something was deeply wrong at that motel, but we were lucky to have escaped. Dad pulled out his phone and sent a notice to our close friends, warning them to stay away from the Pine Rest Inn. Not long after, we heard that the motel had closed down. There were many reasons, but one of them was definitely the haunted motel joke they'd been pulling on unsuspecting guests. As we left that nightmare behind, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief, mixed with sadness. We'd seen something real, something haunting, and it would stay with us forever.